And then Beth can introduce your colleague, because it would just be so depressing for me to say but anyway, Beth Filar-Williams, who has actually migrated quite a bit in the world of librarianship. Is like every time I turn around, she's doing something else. But Beth is the, let's see, what should we name the? Oh, I think a good time. The Empress of the Digital Media Commons. Maven, yeah. Maven. Guru. That's always a good. But anyway, the Digital Media Commons at UNCG, and you have some analogous resources. Structurally, it's a little bit different here. But on your campus, your folks actually in the technical side of your library can offer support on, I'm not volunteering them for this because I know this is what they do, offer support for WordPress as a tool. So like the other platforms, you do have kind of a built-in assistance feature because you do have kind of resident experts with this. And the Digital Media Commons at UNCG is also the neighborhood. Administratively, it's a little bit different, but who knows, that may be changing. The neighborhood of our Digital Act Studio, which assists our students with, one thing, their involvement with the project this fall is they're assisting our students with peer tutoring on the aesthetics and rhetorical aspects of pulling together their e-portfolios, how to strategically think about e-portfolios. And actually some of our funding for the project is going to hiring student peer consultants to act in that capacity. Okay. So anyway, without further ado, we have the DMC team, and no, I won't do any Run DMC stuff. They have this really great marketing campaign for students where they've got all these like questionable copyright status posters of like Run DMC. And
it's okay when you use it in parody, right?
Yeah.
Parody, you can get away with using edited images.
I do not have qualifications in intellectual property rights and disavow any knowledge whatsoever of what you do in that area. So anyway, let's find out about WordPress, and this is very much a hands-on session to the extent you'd like to do that. If you don't happen to have your own device, actually you can play around with, pretend you're a student and just do that, right? But
yes. Yeah, I haven't ever tried it.
actually, you can. I don't know if it offers a full array of features, but there is a smartphone app, to enjoy some of the functionality.
So much is mobile these days, I wouldn't be surprised. But this is Michelle Folkman. Hi. She's a graduate student in the Library and Information Studies Department, and she's the GA for the year in the DMC. But she has an amazing, I can't do introductions like Roy can, but she has an amazing background in 3D animation, and she's an artist and does a lot of, really has some great digital media skills and all too. So she works with me in the DMC and knows WordPress and will be helping with this session today. So I was just going to give you sort of just a quick overview of kind of how you do it to get started. I was picturing people when I was picturing a computer lab or something, so I assumed you all would have laptops and you could log in and kind of mess around with it a little bit, because I like to do things with hands-on versus just talking about it. But
they're minds.
You can just imagine, or you can use your phone or whatever to do it. But let me just ask first off, has anyone here used WordPress before?
As a blogging tool.
As a blogging tool.
Yeah.
Okay, so pretty familiar with it though, because you can use it for blogging, to use it for an e-portfolio. You're just kind of creating more pages than you are posts, which makes it more of a blog. Anyone else used it before? Well, just to get started, I'm going to sign in if I can remember my username. Gosh, you have so many usernames and passwords for everything these days that, and then with all these like, Heartbleed, change your password. I'm like, what did I change it to now?
Although FYI, HP computers, which I wouldn't recommend anyone get, do have a flashy little feature where it's not just like a fingerprint recognition for logon, which I think that might have, but it actually is a fingerprint recognition that you can activate for passwords on sites. So,
Oh, interesting. I know, I'm waiting for it to just be my eye, log me in, you know, scan your eyeball.
way too many James Bond movies.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's gonna happen before you know it. So, so basically WordPress, it can be used as a blogging tool and it can be used as a website. I'm just trying to think of if I have a good example to show you, and I'll just embarrass myself and show you my, like online portfolio or whatever you wanna call it. I feel like it's good to have Beth Filar-Williams, librarian. How exciting is that? But this is on the WordPress platform, and if you've used it as a blogging tool before, the homepage is a blog entry. It has a date when I first posted it, and it's just kind of my intro. I use it as my introduction. And if you had it as a blogging tool, you'd have more entries like underneath. But I use it just to put my stuff up online, my contact information, my education, experience, scholarship, service, that sort of thing. So it's really basic. It's not necessarily what it might be kind of similar to what you're thinking, but this is something I've had for a while that I just like to keep on going as a electronic e-portfolio of my information. So just to give you an idea of like what something could look like, there's, you have your menu bars and that's your navigation tab. But there's different themes and there's different templates and things like that. So for WordPress, there's a lot you can do that can be really complex, and I really don't know all the ins and outs of it. I know enough to do, I've been using it for years for a lot of different things, but just to get the basics, which is what I'm going to show you today, it's free at WordPress.com. People get confused because there's another WordPress. Are you pulling it up?
There is, yeah, that's right. There is an Android app that is a native WordPress app. So it's actually from WordPress. The good news is, well, people overrate stuff on Android, in Google Play, so I'm not too sure what 4 stars means. And there's also there's an app that's a tutorial for, well, there are a bunch of apps that are tutorials for WordPress. So
There's a lot of good tutorials out there. We were gonna let you know, like we can send you a little handout, like I have a little kind of step-by-step how you get started if it's something that you would like, besides the tutorials that they have. But you have to sign in first to get an account, but it is free, and people get confused because there's a WordPress that can be downloaded to your desktop and run that way, or downloaded to like a server and run from that aspect. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about here. We're just talking about WordPress.com, which is just a free online site that you can use to create a blog. Or it says create a blog, I'm sorry. You can use it to create a website or a course site or an e-portfolio or something. But basically, it's going to say create a blog because that's kind of how they, what they call it. So I'm going to create another blog just to give you an example of how to get started. So I've already logged in, and here I am to the page where I'm going to create a new one. And there is no limit, so I can create a blog today, tomorrow, you can create one, you can delete it later. So you can use it if you're just trying to want to play around with it and kind of figure out what you think. You can pay for a specific address. Like I could pay $18 a year, so that instead of saying BethFilar-Williams.wordpress.com, it could say BethFilar-Williams.com, which some people might like that, but just so that you know, it's available. And the name of my blog is right here, so you could give it your name or whatever. My test blog, or my test site, I'm gonna call it, just so that I remember it's just for that. And then one nice thing about it is it does have different privacy levels, because we've worked with students before in the DMC that have to create e-portfolios for classes, but they don't necessarily want it to be out there so search engines can find it, so their information's out there. So there are options to make it a little more private, so viewable by everyone's a default, but viewable by everyone but to block search engines is a possibility if they want to try to keep it more private, like just for time limited, for a class or something like that. And then private would be so that only, oops, I clicked on the wrong one. It's visible to only users I choose, so that's another option as well. So just think about those levels.
Quick question about exactly what private means. You may know the specs on this. Is that, I think of the analogy, is that the equivalent to unlisted status, say on YouTube, where you would have to, that anyone with a link could view it, or is it like the private status on YouTube where you physically have to issue the invitation to the email?
I'm pretty
address?
sure it's the latter. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the latter, because when I helped students before, she set it as private, then she had to send it, I went to look at it, I had to like request access.
Right.
And then she gave me access and then I could see it. So it's not just like I could send the link and you could look at it, you had to actually be authenticated to be able to view it, is what I'm remembering.
And if that's the case, by the way, that would be sufficient for FERPA considerations
Yeah.
for us, which is pretty important.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Well, let's, I'm gonna leave it, I'm gonna actually do it as this one for now, just. Okay. All right, so don't worry about the paying for it, we're just gonna use the free one, because it has everything that we need, and I'm just gonna go ahead and create. So it's that simple just to get up and running. What just happened? Did I click on the wrong thing?
There you go.
Didn't look like what I wanted it to look like. Ah, there we go. Oh, here we go. This is your dashboard. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I was expecting it to take me right to my dashboard, but it's just giving me some other information. So I'm gonna visit my dashboard. Your dashboard is kind of where you're gonna be doing a lot of your work from. It's gonna look like this. You can always try to look for the word dashboard when you wanna go back to where, like where all your content is, how you're gonna edit and manage your different blogs and things like that. So you can see that I'm on the blog right there. It says my test site. So that means I'm definitely on that one, because you know I had some other blogs that I showed you, so it would say my other names of my other blogs if I was on a different site. And a couple things, I just want to make sure I mention, yeah, okay, make sure I mention everything and don't forget to tell you something important. So now when I'm back in here, if I wanted to check my settings, I just wanted to point out settings to you here. Settings is where I was when I was, some of the ways that you get things set up. Again, if you realize that you didn't want to call it my test site, or you wanted a new tagline, you wanted to make some edits from what you just set up, this is kind of the general place to get started. A tagline, by the way, would be just a few words that would appear underneath that kind of explain what the site is, that would appear on the top underneath of your title. Let's see, there's other little things that you can edit here according to what you want, like your date format, your time format, that sort of thing. So there's not really much here that I care too much about, but I just wanted to show that to you because I've created stuff before and then realized I spelled the name wrong or something like that. So you can go in and edit some of these changes when you, as you're getting started. So, and you can actually add images and stuff too if you wanted to do a new picture at the top and things like that. So that's just your general place to get started. But really what you want to do is get started creating content, right? So the one thing I wanted to mention is the difference between making it a blog and making it a site is really kind of the idea between posts and pages. So posts that you see up the top here, that's a post and that's a page. And so for my blog that I was showing you over here, the post is making it more blog-like, and that's what you normally see with the blog. You would have, it would be on the home page, but you would have it in chronological order. When you posted something new, it would come up in that order with the most recent at the top. Pages are like my menu tabs across the top. These are more static things, and that's what's making it more like an e-portfolio. So just kind of keep that in mind, that there's a difference between pages and posts, because it does get a little confusing if you're not used to it. So I'm going to go to pages, and it automatically gives me an about page, but I can add as many pages as I want in here. You just click the add new and you can add new pages, and then I can show you later how you can go into your menu, in the menu section, to make it more of a menu. But I want to go ahead and add a new page. So, there we go. Let's see, what should I call this? I'm being really, it's 8 in the morning and I'm not very creative, so DMC stuff, that's gonna be my other page. And then I can put content down in here. See, Michelle, you should be up here doing this because you're a little more creative than I am.
So we know more awake.
And then I can put my content information down here. And has anyone used, I mean, this sort of, what am I trying to say? The way that you would put information in here is really similar to other tools that you've probably used before. So you can easily add, you have your formatting tools here, you can add links. It has a lot of, that general information, that stuff that we're kind of used to looking at. You can add media and things like that in here too. The one thing that I like, because I kind of like to do the tech side of things and look at the content behind it, is sometimes instead of looking at the visual side of it, I'll click on the text. And this would be more so, well, it would make more sense if I actually had something worth looking at. So let's say I want to link to, I'm going to put a link in here. Create a link. Make that a link. Now if I went to the text side, it would actually show the code of how it put the HTML code in there. So if any of you want like that aspect of it, sometimes it's worthwhile to go look at the code. I'm definitely more of a code person, so sometimes I like to just do it in the code, but you have the visual side too. So that's just really quick and dirty how I would create a new page. And then over here you have some options. Now, save as a draft is always a good thing as you're going along. It does automatically save periodically, but it's nice to get to save it just in case something happens. You don't want to lose what you were working on. And then you can see a couple other options here. You have your status is still a draft, the visibility is public, and you can publish immediately. So these kind of things are worth looking at. Your visibility you can actually take a page, besides the blog itself we were talking about could be set as private or could be set as not available to search engines. You can actually, as you're creating pages, set those as private or set those as password protected, which is something you might want to consider if you're in the middle of working on something, you don't want it out there yet. You could make it password protected or private. Password protected I've seen used before, again, if somebody wanted to put some of their stuff up there but didn't want everyone to dive into some of the content that they had for whatever reason. They're working on something really exciting, they didn't want anyone to know about it until it was ready to go, or they only wanted certain people to have access to certain pages. So there might be a reason why you would want to password protect.
Well, in one of our sessions, we did discover a good reason why you'd want to password protect it. There was a Digication e-portfolio that a student had who was did like photography as well as writing, and it turns out they didn't pay attention. Well, it's weird. They kind of had limited access to, I think it was the Flickr collection of their images, okay? Well, then they had a video that they did of an installation that they had, which was kind of this video-based performance art piece, right? So we click on that, and of course it was access to the whole world and everything. And within 5 seconds, what we find is full nudity of a man and woman, holding pieces of fruit and things, and we're going, aha. Well, and again, it's one of the things that we're considering teaching through e-portfolios. And one component of digital literacy is this idea of judicious use of electronic tools and understanding different levels of access and how to control that. That may be one thing also that becomes important for a student who might develop an e-portfolio for your class and then maybe want to translate that into a professional e-portfolio. I mean, they don't want to give a prospective employer a view of their corrected papers and drafts.
Right. That's a good point. Stuff they have to do for the class, but then they can, that's the nice thing about things like WordPress, or as opposed to maybe the Blackboard portfolio or something, because I assume that they can take it with them when they're done, which I think is a really good, useful thing, like mine that's up there as well. It's nice to have something like that out there. But you're right, there's certain things that you might be as a student required to put up, but don't necessarily want it to be up there professionally. I'm just gonna keep mine public for now. Publish immediately. I don't know why you might edit and schedule it for a certain time. The unveiling of your exciting website or something, and that's something used a lot more when you're blogging, because you might like do a couple blog posts and have them scheduled to come out during certain times of the week or the month or something like that. But do have a few options. I'm gonna go ahead and just publish it, just so you can hear somebody smell buzzing. If it's important, grab it. So I went ahead and published it.
It's the wine sitting
And it tells me when it was published, and I could then go and view it. So yeah, there's not much up there right now. It just says DMC stuff, blah, blah, and it still has a top-notch WordPress.com site, because I never changed my tagline, and still says my test site. So really basic. But then I look at this and I think, I don't really like the way this looks. There's a ton of themes out there that you can pick to make the look of your blog or your site differently. So this is just the one that was automatically given to me when I signed up for my blog. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and I'm going to go down here to Appearance, because Appearance is where you want to go to customize it a little bit. This is where you go to change your theme, and the theme is the way it's gonna, the look of it, as opposed to like the one I showed you of my own, the Beth Filar-Williams one. That's a different kind of theme. This is a general theme they gave me. There's also a lot of widgets that you can add in there. We're not really gonna talk about those today, but there's a lot of different options to customize it a little better, change your background, change your menus around. Once you add a bunch of pages, you can go into the menu part that's here, and then you can use the menus to reorder your pages so that they look differently at the top. So there's a lot of, this is where you want to go to make it look differently. But let me look at themes. Yes, it's just the internet's not awake all the way this morning yet either. You can buy themes as well, so besides the ones that are free, you can actually purchase a theme if there's one that you really liked. I know some people have purchased them for like under $100. Has anyone, yeah, well no, a lot of you haven't used it, so you probably haven't purchased one. I don't know why it's taking so long. I can see it's moving.
There's so many.
It's thinking. There's too many themes. But the theme is one that's, I mean, the themes are nice because then you can pick one that you think lays it out, that are like, I liked this one, the way this theme was, just because it was kind of basic for me. That's actually a photo that I took, so there's no, it's not a copyright infringement there, but, let's see, how come?
You know, this raises an interesting point with these, even not just the commercial point, with the free options. One of the things I'm always concerned about is equity. That what we wind up evaluating is not being influenced by like the resources a student brings to bear. And I'm concerned if I go with one of these open source platforms, I may actually have in the stipulations of the assignment no paid content elements. And the reason I'm saying that is because, I mean, I can just kind of imagine some student of significant financial means going in, you know, buying up some, you know, fancy schmancy theme. It looks really good. It enables things to flow better. It's not really a reflection of any skills that they have. It's just that they could plunk out $100 or whatever and buy all the stuff. So, you know, something to think about. A big thing we're going to be doing over the summer is sharing our work in progress on our syllabi and on our assignments that are related to the e-portfolios. Because really, I think the only way that we're going to understand that we cover all the bases on this is to eyeball what each other's doing and to learn from each other on this. And I think that'll put us in much better shape going into the fall, that we don't have some, you know, huge oversight that we've made, you know, this gaping loophole that really doesn't give students, correct instructions, or, we've got a problem with the way that e-portfolios are being conceptualized. So, just a thought there, we might want to look at that. I mean, you take a look, and it is interesting. Some of these look really cool, and,
But you can see which ones cost.
yeah.
The green, if you haven't noticed yet, the green circle down the bottom here, that says $18. This one's free, that one costs. So you can scroll down. I'm not gonna pay for one, but those both cost. And it's interesting the differences. That one's 18, this one's 65. What makes that one more expensive? I don't know. $75 for that one there. The thing is, you can change your themes at any time, so you can pick one that you like, and then you can always change it later. So, it's the nice thing about WordPress, it'll automatically reformat your pages, your menus, and everything according to what theme you pick. It has like that built-in CSS that will automatically do that. So it's not like if you've ever done web design or other things before where you change something about it, and all of a sudden everything's skewed and things are over here and not lined up. The nice thing about it, when you change your theme, it will change it. WordPress will totally update it for you. So I'm just scrolling down, you can see there's a whole lot of different themes. Let's look at,
2010 gets used a lot.
which one?
2010.
I know, I was actually, it's
a
funny you
lot.
said that, I was just thinking that. Oh, I'm going crazy.
And Hemingway's good too.
Yeah, this one, 2010, the one with the trees, I've seen that used a lot. That's a really good template for doing any portfolio. What was the other one you said? Hemingway?
Hemingway, you passed it.
Oh, I already passed it.
It's like up a bit. And that has like a header with text, with the title in the middle of it, which is really attractive.
Yeah, no, I scrolled down yesterday.
Probably in that order.
They don't seem, I don't know what order they're in, to be completely
I
honest.
know, there's no.
Yeah. The thing about the ones that are pay is it gives you a lot more customization, which actually isn't necessary for your students. They'll be just fine without having to pay for the bells and whistles.
Trying to think
And,
of-
and if you really wanted to kind of rigorously standardize stuff in kind of a fascist fashion, what you could always do is just not have to worry about it and say, all right, I want to guarantee a level playing field here, and by golly, everybody will have this template.
Nice.
And then see what you can do with it, which is interesting because a good way to judge the quality of student work is to see how well they can be creative within certain constraints. So, I don't know, just
No, that's a good
throwing
idea,
out every
'cause you can-
possibility.
You pick a theme, but then you can still tweak it, so
Right.
it'd be interesting to see how like each student.
And from an evaluation standpoint, one of the things we already ran into in our education sessions is, these tools now allow the students so many options. Think about it from the standpoint of evaluating this stuff. You don't want an e-portfolio that's sending you to outlink to every single thing. So like with the one digitation sample we looked at, in the e-portfolio to see the student's work, the student outlinked to all sorts of stuff, and there are good reasons to do that. But one of them was like Flickr. Well, if you don't already have an account, you got to establish one. Another one was Tumblr. Oh, if you don't have an account, you got to establish one. And even fundamental things such as sending you out to Facebook, or YouTube is pretty easy because if it's publicly accessible. But I mean, again, these are the sorts of things we need to anticipate, and we probably want to take into account in sharing our guidelines. So.
All right, so I picked that one theme, and you can see how it changed the site from what you saw before. So yeah, just to give you an idea of what it can look like and how it can tweak things around for you. So you can see it says nothing found because your homepage is always like the blog part of it. So this is where you would have like your first post on your blog post, or maybe just like I do on my personal site. That's just kind of my intro page where I just have a write-up about what this page is about. The DMC stuff link is there, and the about that it automatically gives you is there as well. So they all have a little bit of different customization. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard. Again, your dashboard is usually found under the name of the blog if you're trying to navigate your way back. And so let's see. The other thing where, let me scroll down a little more, back under appearance again, this is where I got the theme. You can also, this is where you could play around with your menu bar. So if I decided that I wanted to, you know, tweak my menu or change my menu, you can create some different menus in here as well, depending on how you wanted to like organize your page. So again, if you wanted to go back to the themes, you can just go back here and look for a new theme. So that's kind of the basics to get started. Let's see, what else did I want to say? Create announcements, discussion.
Importing media, maybe?
Media, that's a good idea. Okay. So you can see there's a lot of other stuff on the side here. Again, we did the pages. Pages, let me list all pages again. I just want to reinforce a couple of things I showed you. So you can see I have the 2 pages in here now. I can easily go in here, and when I hover it, it brings me up where I can edit it and look at statistics and other information. If people gave me comments and stuff like that would be here. I could delete pages here. If I want to do a post, because the post is what's on the main page, I'm going to add a new post so that I have some content on that main page. So I'm going to add that there and just go ahead and I'm just going to publish it just because I want to get it up there so you can see something else on the main page. So let's go. So it looks like this. That's the welcome page. Let me go back to my dashboard again. I'm going to open it up in another window. I'm having trouble with the mouse sometimes. Okay, so as far as adding media, so you want to add images or other media to to your page, you can add things into your media library, and that way, what that means is you can add certain things up there in this library of content, and that way when you want to add it to different pages or move it around, you have it accessible to you from this media library, rather than just uploading it every time you want to add something. So if you wanted to do something that might be on several pages or something that you're going to use later or tweak, they actually give you 3 gigabytes of space for media, which is a pretty decent amount of space. You can also upload videos and embed them as well, but a lot of times what I do with videos is I'll have them somewhere else in YouTube or Vimeo or something and embed them as from the other site, grab the embed code and paste that in there. Wondering about uploading some media, but I'm not exactly sure. It's on my computer. I was just thinking to myself, like, oh, but this is Roy's computer, and I don't want to necessarily go look at your media and add something up here. So we could grab something from another
actually,
page.
if you go to another tab there, just open up YouTube. Go ahead and embed a YouTube video.
Let's do the.
Search for me on YouTube and upload my latest commentary on the Senate debate.
Oh my gosh, now I have to try to spell your last name.
Dun, dun.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, NC Docs, how nice.
Wow, that's a first. Oh, here's a song that you sung, or?
I have no idea. That's not me.
That's not you. Oh, that was exciting.
That's very strange. That's not me.
Oh, now my.
There's another Roy
Uh-oh, now
Schwartz.
the computer's hung up. It didn't like that.
It knows that it's an imposter. That's kind of creepy. I mean, you figure you might find, like, okay, Daniel Richardson, coming in, Corey King, but like Roy Schwartz, seriously? It's a virus. It's
It's just
It's a
a
short
site. I don't know why it like got hung up all of a sudden. It's that kind of morning, isn't it? I didn't bring a laptop.
Do you have a media library as part of you must have some in your webpage, your website?
Actually, no.
No, well, the picture had to be there for some reason.
Yeah, I actually have I uploaded them a lot. Yeah, I could go to mine and check.
Or,
I'd
yeah,
rather.
right.
So go with that. Let's go to my dashboard.
You know, this exercise, what Beth is doing here is is something else we need to consider as well.
It's
I
safe.
think possibly collectively, but certainly individually. And obviously, we're all going to, point students to models of e-portfolios. It's very easy because, Digication is very proud of their clientele, and they have all these out there. TaskStream is the same way. With a little fishing around, we can find some good examples of Google sites, certainly of WordPress. And this is not just a rhetorical question, it's a real question. Do we want to go into teaching our class this fall, where we're doing e-portfolio pedagogy? Do we want to walk in there with our own e-portfolio in hand and say, students, I'm going to ask you to create one of these. And first day of class, you show them your e-portfolio, for better or worse. I don't know, something to think about. And I think a lot of that is, if you want to do that, that's a very interesting test to see how well, the usability, and how well the functionality is of these options.
I have a suggestion in regards to that. I think we could probably create a sample portfolio from other works that we've had and just kind of take off the names of the students. But I think it would be better for it to be student-based, because they might feel a little overwhelmed trying to meet our expectations and think we're trying to say, be like us.
Or, which might not be a good thing, or the other thing is that we might worry about is we kind of created one, even if it was just an average one. What I worry about too is instinctively when students see, oh, the teacher has done such and such, the instinct is to imitate.
Right.
As opposed to
Well,
So I guess maybe it's a matter of just kind of being judicious about what we use as our
Right.
models.
Well, based on what I've done with the tangible portfolios that I've had with binders, I gave them the sample, so the full sample, someone who got a 100%, and what my expectations were for the 100%. So I think if we have done something similar before, we have an online model, I think, again, as long as the person got a near perfect grade, I think that would be sufficient for them, just to see how it's supposed to kind of be organized and stuff like that. Because I think the work will be varying regardless. I don't think the work will be duplicate. It would just be the presentation more so than the actual content. Because they wouldn't be able to take it.
All right, I'll just show you, it's getting close to 9, so I don't want to take, I want to make sure I show you about media and then maybe just answer some questions, because there's a lot more on this page, but not a lot that you necessarily need to know for what you're going to be doing for this. For adding media, when I had clicked add new, it gives me this thing here, which is nice because it's a drag and drop thing too, so you can literally just slide and drop a file there, which sometimes is a lot nicer than going through the select files. I downloaded an image onto the desktop here. There it is. So now I have that image right here. Let me go back to my library again. And see, now you can see that I have an image that's up there. So now I could insert this image into one of my pages. On my media library over here, on my Beth Filar-Williams one, you can see I have a couple images here that I've used for my header, and then another one that I use on my other page. So you can see like how you can have them listed here and when they were updated. So let me go back to my test site again, and I'm actually going to go to my pages. And I'm going to say on the DMC page, I'm going to edit it again. I'm going to insert my media. And you can actually literally go right here and just upload something when you're in that page at that time. But it's kind of nice to put stuff up in the media library and add it too, then they're kind of saved in that sense too. But you can see here, you can actually insert directly from YouTube, insert from a URL. So if I click this, it's gonna search YouTube, or by user, insert from a URL, you can put a URL there. I actually have never really used those aspects of it. I'm always just inserting my media this way. And when I go into the page, I can I can grab, like, have you ever on YouTube or another website clicked on embed this, and it gives you that embed code that you can copy and paste? So that's what I usually do, and then I paste that code into a page, rather than like try to insert it through this, insert YouTube. Have you ever done the insert YouTube from here?
No, I never
Yeah,
have,
I haven't
but
either.
I think that's new.
Thank you.
There's multiple ways to accomplish a task in WordPress.
Which is, yeah, that's why you figure out what works for you the best, and then kind of the way that you like to do it, and get comfortable with that, or, showing your students. So here's in my media library, you can see I just have this one image of our gaming lab. And when I go in here, I can give it a better title and alternate text, and this is good for being ADA compliant. Alternate text is what appears when people have screen readers and aren't looking at images, so I can just type gaming lab image or something like that, or give it more of a description. You can give it a caption too, if I wanted it to have a caption underneath. I'm gonna not do that right now. And then I'm just going to, let me see if there's any options here. Attach display, alignment. So it gives you a couple other options here if you wanted to align it a certain way, right, left. That's what this align thing's for. Left, right, center. I'm gonna keep it as left. And then it gives me the size as well, which it can make it smaller or larger according to what size it was that you updated. I'm just gonna insert it into my page, and you can see it right there. And let's view page, and I'm gonna right click and say open a new tab, just because sometimes I like to be able to view it in a new tab. Where was it showing? Oh, thank you. Yes, I put it in there, but then I never clicked update. Thanks, Michelle. I did that on purpose so that you would remember that you have to remember to update, and that's why your changes aren't there. So then I can go back over here, and I just need to refresh it. And it should appear. Now you can see the image is sitting in there. So it's really easy to add images and add links and add other media.
And all those things that are appearing on the right-hand side, you may not want, you can take them out. There's different settings all the way down the line. There's the ability to include buttons to social media. You can take those out. They just all appear in different places. It's really highly customizable.
Embedding the video,
Yeah.
I'm particularly thinking in the speech communication area,
Yeah.
that makes things so easy, because if you're having the students reflect on their development as a speaker, you could have the framing and the context narrative there where the student is writing about, here's some of the challenges I faced, for example, here's, how I dealt with my communication apprehension, here's an example of how I was before I started doing it, and now here's, after I did the following things, here is me giving another speech. So that can be really helpful, because that's awfully tough for us to capture in one place as it stands now, without something like these tools.
We're going to show you a couple other examples. Oh, no, well, because it's logged in.
Yeah.
All right, she's logging me out so she can log in and show you a couple other examples. But really, if you have questions, even though we gave you the DMC handout that's UNCG, you're all welcome to contact us. If you have questions about things, if you want some more follow-up, if you want to even come by the DMC and get some help or sit down with somebody, we have a couple staff members, and then we have about 7 students that work there. They're all really comfortable with WordPress and tools like this, and Google Sites. We do Google Sites a lot too. We also have a chat widget on our page, so you can always chat us if you have a question, email us. So we're definitely here to help you out if you have some questions about this.
I like the look of it. I think that, students are used to blogging, so this is probably easy.
I don't know if this is really any different than what we've already looked at, but this is an e-portfolio I had to develop for a class last semester. And you can see that, like under here, there's multiple levels of venues. And so I've got videos embedded, and I've got links to Stupid, I think. And
Yeah, that's another good one. So yeah, just to give you an example of different.
except I can't handle the laptop.
I know, yeah. It's always different when you use a different laptop and trying to navigate around. I was having trouble with that too.
The thing about it is you can incorporate any kind of media. It can be audio or video, it can be text, it can be pictures. The flexibility is there for your students to develop a strong portfolio.
This is also a really good site if you want to learn how to use Go Animate, because she's done
Me and
some
my
work
Go
with the
Animate,
tool. It's a
yeah.
free tool that's pretty cool for creating animations.
And that's another thing to think about too, is as you're formulating assignments related to the e-portfolios, specifying the types of media. I mean, you know, you don't have to micromanage it, but just say something like, you know, needs to include a video, a static image that's linked to something, whatever.
Did you notice how on the page, like at the bottom of the post, there was all those like tweeted, do this, that, and the other with it?
Yeah.
Well, Michelle was just showing me that she figured out how to get rid of that stuff.
All this stuff here is done, just
Oh, okay.
that takes care of all that stuff off.
Show
And
likes
then
or
people can't
sharing,
put
sharing.
comments on your
Okay.
pages.
So yeah, if you wanted to take those things off, like the sharing part, you know, it says share on Google Plus, share on
Yeah.
Twitter, share on Facebook, you can take that off by clicking that
Because
underneath the
Google
page.
Plus, nobody's going to see it anyway, because nobody uses
I use it.
it. But,
I'm trying to get people to use Google Plus, Google Community, there's a lot of really cool tools in there.
well, actually, the video chat feature with Google Hangouts is
Oh, I
probably the
love
best
that.
thing on the market.
I've been using that a lot,
Yeah.
I've been, so we've been using, we're going off on a tangent, but Google Hangouts is a great tool, and Google Hangouts on Air, I've kind of gotten that down too, to do big, larger webinars and stuff. So-
Well, and you know, you think about allowing comments and things like that. A lot of us may well be using some peer review types of things in our classes. That's a regular part of what I do in pretty much all my classes. By allowing comments, you can, you know, maybe break students up into groups or something like that and say, okay, I need you to find a partner, or 2 students, 3, whatever, and they comment on each other's e-portfolio entries. That can really help you out in the evaluation process, because then students kind of have that feedback and progress, and doesn't force you to do it all.
Do we have more of those flyers? Oh, I think we do have one more left. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I've seen that in a lot of the research area of people being able to get feedback and have like commentary by allowing comments. So, but yeah, just so that you know, you would go into your page and down the bottom here is where you could turn that stuff on and off, which is kind of a nice feature to know about. I never noticed that before. So anyway, it's 9 o'clock. So that's kind of the wrap up of the basics. I don't know if you guys have any specific questions. I got you a little bit of an overview. I'll be back later at 4 to talk about Google Sites.
And if any of you like set up a little WordPress site to play with, why don't you share the link with the rest of us? Just distribute it via the Blackboard site. You know, with one click you can get everybody. That way we can kind of get a glimpse at, you know, some of the different types of things that can be done, and kind of glimpse it from the other end of things.
Yeah.
And I remind everybody also, go ahead and go in and test drive TaskStream, because that's ready to go for you now.
I've never seen TaskStream.
Yeah, I haven't played with it either.
Yeah, TaskStream, they're a big player. I mean, actually, indirectly, state law in North Carolina, Department of Public Instruction, mandates a TaskStream e-portfolio for people seeking educational certification.
That's
It's what's
right.
used for hiring in K through 12.
We have run into that in the department,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and schools of education throughout the University of North Carolina system use TaskStream for that reason. But, you know, again, it's certainly not the only thing out there. But a lot of these, I mean, if you play around with some of these others, Education, TaskStream, and you look at WordPress, some of the basic things there are very analogous, you know, so it's not like if a student's used one, or if you've used one, you'll be totally lost if you go to the other one.
Should I slow this down?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thank you for saving the day and bringing a laptop.
Oh, that's always
12,
today.
22.